Hey, Sam, transitioning to football, a huge start to the offseason today. Guys going back to school, the whole kit and caboodle. Don't you feel like it's
Yeah.
kind of flown under the radar with the transition and the overhaul of special teams, given how important it was to end results last year?
I think a little bit. I
You don't
think
have to
we
go along
talked
with
quite
me.
a
I
bit.
just I don't know,
Yeah,
man. I mean,
you
Archie
know,
just got there, so maybe that's part of it. But I mean, got a lot of work to do
I
there.
think there's yeah. Well, they've certainly overhauled. They've added a kicker. They added a long snapper a long time ago, 7 months ago or whatever. But they added Archie Wilson today. He's not on the roster yet. Like on the Husker roster, but he's going to be their punter. Nobody really knows anything about him. We'll see how it goes. When it comes to rugby punters, they need to learn the American game. And Mike Ekeler already had one at Tennessee, so he'll have to. I'm sure he'll do a good job of downloading that into Archie or whatever Archie does or doesn't know. But he'll figure it out and they'll learn it. Because the previous rugby punter that Nebraska had didn't really know much about the game, and so we don't really know how much Archie Wilson knows. So they'll have to do that. But one thing I will say is that when they hired Mike Ekeler, I'm sure Ekeler was very honest about, hey, you're hiring me. You're going to hire me to turn over every stone, every one of them. So we're going to be really aggressive and proactive about doing what we do, because everybody who knows Ekeler knows that the guy's sort of an all gas no brakes kind of person, which means he's not going to go, well, whatever we got to do. No, we're going to be on point and we're going to be detailed and we're going to be fastidious about what we do. And so I'm sure as Matt Rhule was thinking about who he was going to hire, he understood that he was hiring a guy that was going to go get a rugby punter. So again, with Ekeler, you can know that he is going to make sure he's going to, tend to his yard really well. And so I think we've touched on that. I think there's some skepticism because of history about whether special teams can get better. And I guess I would say, yes, it can. And I think it's going to. I think it's going to get better this season. So there's some skepticism. I think Husker fans are a little jaded there. They want to see it happen because they know that it's cost Nebraska several games over the last 5 years. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think everybody's in kind of a wait and see mode about just about everything about Nebraska right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm, but there's a lot of all right, looks like you got a team. Let's see it happen.
We've been just chewing up quarterbacks the last couple of months, and as it relates to conference play and success, and this whole thing started when Sankey was, maybe rolling the dice of not being paid for the extra conference game and maybe trying to get a fifth team in the playoffs. And so we just started looking at quarterback rankings and the fifth and sixth and seventh best quarterbacks in conferences and stuff. For you, what's the ratio or correlation of good playoff caliber quarterbacks to their actual team making the playoffs? Is it 1-to-1? Is it 70? Because I want to get into quarterback talk here a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's some correlation. It's not absolute, but there's some. And I think if you have one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in a given power conference league, you have a good chance of making it. I don't know, for example, that Arizona State's Sam Leavitt was one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in that league. He had the stats of that, but I don't know that he actually was.
Just start right there.
Interesting.
Start right there in the Big 12.
I don't know that he was one of the best. I mean, he was good. But, Shedeur Sanders was the best quarterback in the Big 12, and they obviously didn't make it to the playoff. And you could say the guy – anyway, there's some correlation to it. Yeah.
Do you think
yeah.
Do you think Sam Leavitt's the best returning quarterback to the Big 12?
You got Becht at ISU. You got Hoover at TCU. You got Ratzliff at BYU. You have Robertson at Baylor. You got Avery Johnson at K-State. You got Barron at Texas Tech.
Jalen Daniels at Kansas.
He's still there.
It's his 6th year.
Yeah,
good for him.
So when I say all those names, it's weird.
Know.
You can see why the win total is the worst team in the Big 12 season win total is 5.5. The best team is 8.5.
And most of them are 7.5.
Everybody's in between.
Right. Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, Cam Ward didn't make the playoff last year, and he was the best quarterback in the country.
Good point.
You know, I mean, so you know, there's things that you can say about it, but there's correlation, of course. Yes, there's definitely a relationship between elite quarterback play that then translates to the NFL and college football playoff performance. You know, Joe Burrow was really good in college and he was really good in the pros. And, you know, Tua, great in college, great in the pros. Bryce Young, gonna be good in the pros, great in college. Like all those things track. And so it does help to have a great team around you, but quarterback play absolutely matters. And Ohio State had good enough quarterback play. Will Howard was solid when he needed to be, and he made enough plays, and good for him. And he was surrounded by an all-star team. So that also helps when you have the best receivers in the country and the best defensive line in the country. Putting all those pieces together is important.
Are you a little taken aback that Sand hasn't been a little bit more pronounced in terms of the expectation level this year at Columbus, or you think that jives?
That they haven't.
Yeah, it seems like they may have a legitimate battle.
Yeah, it surprises me a little bit, and he's obviously part of it. And then the kid from South Dakota is
Lincoln Kynolds,
still in the battle. You know, they have the luxury of playing it out. I mean, they do. They have the luxury of playing it out. It's the premier program in the country at this point. I think they win a lot of games, and honestly, I think you're playing for a head coach that's probably easier to play for than Kirby Smart. And you're playing for a coach that's, you know, if you're good, you're gonna be surrounded by great players, and you got a chance of playing in the NFL. So there's a lot of reasons why Julian Sand will stick there and battle for the job. You know, like he doesn't have any leverage. He just doesn't. I mean, none of those guys there do. And so the best guy's going to win. And if they haven't decided yet who that's going to be, then there you go. Apparently there's still a battle in Michigan too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Bryce
if he would have been healthy to compete with Underwood, you know, he missed winter, he missed a lot of spring.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's kind of been Underwood's show. I think Michigan is probably not even sure what they have yet.
I don't think they are either. And the other thing is, and I've said this a couple of times in relation to Dylan, most teams do not have to play an elite true freshman quarterback. In fact, they would prefer not to if they didn't have to.
Yeah.
Because it's a 3-year conversation no matter what. The guy's not going to the pros for 3 years, so you don't have to play him right away. And 2 years of college football starting is enough evaluation tools for the NFL to say, hey, you're great. And so a lot of times these programs want to bring these guys along slowly so that they don't put themselves in jeopardy of losing the game. Now, Nebraska was different because Dylan Raiola was so much better. And Nebraska doesn't have like a team that can just, you know, sort of they needed Dylan. They needed him to elevate them and make them better in some areas. And so it's a little bit different at Nebraska. But at Michigan, Bryce Underwood, whoever the quarterback is going to be throwing it 22 times a game and running at 5. So, like, if it doesn't have to be Bryce Underwood, then I'm surprised he's there. I'll be honest with you. I think he's a real good player. I'm surprised that he went there. I just don't think the offense is ever going to be what it will be at LSU. So I'm candidly surprised. I mean, I know why J.J. McCarthy went there, but that's a whole different thing. I think Bryce could have gone anywhere in the country, and he went to a school that's going to use, you know, 3 tight ends and run. There's only like 2 teams in the NFL that do what Michigan does, and I find it odd that he went there. But he's there, and I assume they're going to try to play him early. Whether that goes well for him in Michigan, I don't know.
I mean, he's there for now. That's the important part.
I'm surprised he went there for a year. I'm not trying to knock Michigan. I have a heck of a lot of respect for their program.
Yeah.
And I think Matt Rhule does too. And they're going to come in here to Nebraska, like I've said before. They're going to come into Nebraska, and Sharon Moore, who I think is a good coach, is going to be, we're going to put our 2 tight ends on the field, and we're going to run it at you, and we're going to see over in 90-degree heat on September 20th whether you can handle that. Because the last time we came here, you couldn't. And so, they're going to do the same thing, and they're men at Michigan, and I respect what they do, but they're not going to come out and say, all right, we're going to throw it 47 times. That's not happening. And Bryce Underwood is a 40 times a game passer, so I'm not sure, I don't know that matches up. He could have gone to USC, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go to USC, but he's at Michigan, and, we'll see. J.J. McCarthy was comfortable throwing the ball 20 times a game. God bless him, but not many quarterbacks are willing to do that. And we'll see if Underwood is willing. I'd rather, if I was a quarterback, I'd go to Ohio State over Michigan, but Michigan keeps winning the big games, so I guess maybe that evens it out.
Sam, let me ask you this to get you out of here, since we're talking about Michigan versus LSU and the different systems here, because I do think the systems and coaching matter when we're having this quarterback competition or conversation. So let me give you, in some order, the top 5 guys in the SEC: Garrett Nussmeier, Arch Manning, Lenore Seller, DJ Lagway, John Mateer. And the 5 top guys, arguably in some order, in the Big Ten: Drew Aller, Luke Altmaier, Fernando Mendoza. I'm going to put Dylan in there, and I'm going to put Nico in there. Which of those 5 do you like better? Which would you take?
Man, I guess I'd have to think about it for a minute.
It's tough.
It is.
Because I'm not even sure.
Know.
I'm not even sure you would land on those 5 in the Big Ten.
Maybe
but
not.
I do think that's the 5.
That's a fine 5.
No, it's a good.
Maybe.
But I mean, some may like Dante Moore.
You could
some
argue.
may like.
You could argue.
I mean, I don't know. There's some guys. Some may like Gronowski.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I mean, I'd say the leagues are actually quite even at this point in terms of caliber of player. There is part of me that wonders if, top to bottom, the coaches, the offensive minds in the Big Ten have now surpassed the SEC. I think that would be something I would think about.
The coaches, you mean?
Not just, the offensive coach. Yeah, the people who are behind the guys that are, if you look at the coaches now in the Big Ten,
it's incredible.
I think you're ahead of where the SEC is. So
the assistant coaches
I'd
in
give
the Big Ten are incredible.
Yeah. Head coaches are good too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
So you got Dana Holgorsen, right? And so he's at Nebraska, but Jed Fish at Washington is a noted offensive mind. And, whatever Oregon's doing is fine. I'm not trying to knock Oregon. Oregon has great football players. Oregon's thing is that they have great football players. Oregon's thing, like schematic advantages, you know what? No, they don't have them. And people should be honest about their coaching needs to get better because they have great football players. And when they go play good teams, they get outcoached. Or against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, they got outplayed too, but they didn't look like they belonged on the same field. And a lot of times with Oregon, it's about the players. And then when they go coach, it's like, hey, we forgot how to coach. And and it's, I don't know. I know that's a rude thing to say, but I've watched that team a lot. I watched them lose 3 in a row to Kalen DeBoer in Washington. And Washington didn't have better players than Oregon.
In the same
season.
season.
Get housed by Ohio State. I mean, crushed. So they actually got to get better at the coaching piece. So I don't want to laud them unreasonably, but Jed Fish at Washington and Lincoln Riley at USC, and I know he gets knocked a lot, but he knows how to coach quarterbacks. And the Penn State offensive coordinator, Brian Day at Ohio State, he can coach. Let's be honest, he knows how to coach offense.
Yeah.
And so, like there's just a lot of minds in the Big Ten that I think are pretty impressive.
Yeah, Kodanicki's pretty
point.
good.
Yeah.
It's really good. And the SEC, who's the best coach there? Sarkisian, right? So he's the best play caller /
I don't know, Lane.
quarterbacks coach.
Lane's pretty good offensive mind.
He's good. I think Sarkisian is probably better. Lane
Ooh,
Kiffin's
that's a
teams-
good one.
Oh,
It's true.
That's
I
a
think it's true.
that's a good one. I like that debate.
It's a good debate, but I think Mississippi's teams fall short, and they have great players too. That's, again, I'm not saying that Oregon and Ole Miss are gimmicks. They're not gimmicks. They're very good programs. I'll just say that when you get into the biggest games, I watched Penn State last year schematically find a way to move the football without any receivers, and that's coaching. Like, that's great coaching. And I don't know that I always find that when I watch Oregon and Ole Miss. I'm like, they have players all over the field, and they have these games where they can't figure out how to score. And I watched Penn State last year not have receivers and find ways, and so, like, coaching is coaching. And I watched Dana Holgorsen come in and change things in 4 weeks or 4 games or whatever. And that's coaching. So, like, I guess I'll take the Big Ten quarterbacks because I think they're led by guys that are a little bit better than the SEC guys. But it's pretty tight. Steve Sarkisian's really good. And his pairing with Arch Manning, I think, is going to be a special one. I think they're going to have a lot of fun in Austin this year.
Unfortunately, I think you're right, but I am praying you're wrong because they play with a certain degree of physicality too that I think people sleep on when it comes to Texas. I watched that second
lineman in the country.
Listen, that secondary and that D line were thumping people last year.
Oh yeah,
like
they pay him.
They brought.
They're paying for it.
They brought some drama.
Oh, they did. Yeah, they played very. I mean, they pay well. So Texas is proof positive that you can go get the linemen and you can pay for them and then develop them. And who's their offensive line coach? Is Kyle Flood, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a tough guy.
That's our guy, Sam McKewon.
Maybe a little too tough of a guy, but
Sam
he got
McKewon.
a little bit of trouble, I think, at Rutgers.
Yeah, yes, he did.
Omaha World Herald. Sam, we appreciate the time as always. Good stuff.
Thanks, Sam.
Take care.